Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of You're Already Accepted, a community rewatch. I have Christian, redacted last name, here alongside Jonathan, redacted first name, redacted last name.
Thank you.
And then Ethan Daniel, redacted last name.
Oh, the middle name.
The middle name. You're my brother. I can say that. So today, folks, we are looking at season 2, episodes 17 and 18. Forgive me. Episode 17 is Intro to Political Science, and episode 18 is
Political science.
Where was it?
Oh,
Political Science. Make it a little commentary.
Poli-sci.
Arr.
Episode
Episode 18 is Custody Law and Eastern European Diplomacy. Ethan, do you want to give a little brief synopsis? Kind of help me through it. We have sort of 3 main plots, I would say.
a brief Stephanopoulos.
I would say there's 2 main plots and then like
A third tertiary.
they're kind of all intertwined though.
Yes.
So Greendale is going to be visited by Vice President Joe Biden
Joseph Robinette.
on his Biden time talking about education tour. And he wants to meet with the student body president.
But there is
Greendale.
not one.
There is not a student body president
Correct.
because they don't have student government
So they have 7 hours.
to find a president. And so we get a bunch of students who decide to run Annie, who actually is really probably taking it the most seriously.
Varying levels of commitment, for sure. I would
Yes.
say Annie is the most committed.
Yes. Jeff then is kind of running to just go against Annie.
Cynical
Just-
old man.
point,
Yeah, prove a point to her.
Politician. dumb.
Britta runs, or doesn't really run. She goes up and says that people don't need to be governed. And everybody
And she doesn't care.
Yes. And then Leonard runs. I don't really know what his platform is. Leonard,
The Whig Party.
that's his party. But what's his platform?
He doesn't have one. He's
And Pierce's platform is whatever's high enough to push Vicky off to her death because he's mad at Vicky, who we get introduced to because she wouldn't lend him a pencil. So Pierce is running more so just to
Spite
make
Vicky.
fun of Vicky.
Yep. You have Magnitude. Pop. That's his
Magnitude Pop,
platform.
yep, for sure.
Star Burns, who doesn't want to have a negative light shed on his drug business. So he
Yes,
drops out.
he admits to it.
And then Garrett, who just wanted ice cream.
Yes.
So,
So that's kind of the main plot. But then the other side plot with that is with Vice President Biden coming to campus, there are Social Security. There are Secret Service agents scouting out campus the week before. And Abed says, "Oh, yeah, I noticed them around." And so
We did spot it.
Agent Vollers and her partner, who I don't think has a name.
he does, but I don't remember.
I don't remember his name. He's pretty, forgettable. Are really interested in Abed because he noticed them. They're not used to being noticed. But Agent Vollers kind of has a romantic interest in Abed. They kind of have a spark,
Yeah.
a little chemistry there, and so
Geez, you two get a room.
they
So
are
even
suspicious of him, quote unquote, suspicious.
But
at
it's really
first.
a code for her endearment. For
Yes,
Abed.
to get to search his room. So
Mm.
that's kind of the main plot details. Is there anything else I'm missing? Really? I mean,
I don't think so.
Jeff
not really.
kind of gets a lesson learned,
in terms of not caring.
but also Annie gets a lesson learned. To friends are more important than the student body president. And so the winner of the election is South Park. We should throw that.
Not like Mike Oxlong or Phil Hooters, Dean Dahlberry.
Yes.
The typical Mickey Mouse, the typical write-ins.
I've never heard Film of Hooters. That's brilliant.
Pat McGroin and
Gosh.
and her husband Holden.
Yeah, because there's yeah.
But yes, they do not take the election very seriously.
Yes. Kind of like the E pluribus anus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you expect? So, Jonathan, do you have any A+ scenes or lines from this episode?
Probably like the impetus for or the emotional impetus for Jeff getting in the race. And Jeff does this especially in these episodes that are coming up, but he calls himself like a lawyer, not I was a lawyer or whatever.
Yeah.
And Annie goes like, "Oh, if I see a lawyer, I'll tell him," or something.
Yeah,
like that.
because he's saying like, Amy, you don't want to mess with a lawyer when it comes to politics. She's like, well, if I see one, I'll make sure to keep that in mind.
yeah.
Dang it, Annie, go on.
That's pretty savage.
Which, okay, talking about I guess marked in red here, but like I didn't love how long they lingered on his face afterwards. I was like, because there was no music either. It was just like
cut the shot.
yeah, I know.
Cut the shot.
Like it was just like,
Well, my marked in red for Jeff in this span of episodes is that his hair is growing out and he looks like Tom Brady, like
Oh,
circa
gosh.
2012, like whenever he was growing his hair out. So that
Mhm.
that kind of bothers me a little bit, but yeah,
and it should.
as it should.
How about say anything for y'all?
I don't know. This was a pretty fun episode. I liked the dynamic of each of the plot lines. I really enjoy Robin, Agent Vollers, and Abed. That you just kind of root for Abed.
For sure.
Whenever he's got a girl, it's like I want you guys to come back. And we don't see Agent Vollers again, unfortunately, but it'd be kind of cool and we'll come back. I like how So there are a couple of interactions. So the first one is that Agent Vollers and her partners, do a quote unquote random search of Abed, and they find a pirated copy of The Last Airbender, the live action one, so the really bad one. And the guy's like, I should probably give you a warning for this. And Abed's like, well, where were you a week ago? Which is not very Abed-esque, but it's still kind of funny. The next one is that they just straight up sack his room and like rip up all his pillows and stuff. But that's sort of like there's nothing really suspicious about Abed. We kind of mentioned that Agent Vollers is interested in Abed, and so she uses like surveillance as a tool. I really like the interaction that they have where Robin has been doing some research on Abed, and she's like, "Is there any reason why you skipped or you had to take first grade twice? Essentially, why you had to repeat it?" And he says something along the lines of, "Well, from what I'm told, I didn't know how to use scissors. I sat on the middle of the seesaw.
Yeah, the seesaw.
And then I always found the distinction between duck and goose to be arbitrary." And she's like, "Well, why didn't you just pick the sixth person every time? That's what I would have done."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, I always went with the fourth person." And so that's a cute little interaction. But then you cut to Troy standing right behind him. He's got just like this goofy look on his face, like, "Geez, you two get a room." And it's like, Troy makes everything better. And then I also like the end sequence where Robin has come back to monitor the ongoing situation at Greendale, because what Abed does to get her to come back is he says something along the lines of like, "All right, make sure you remember this, that you can make napalm out of dish soap and dog food." And Troy is in the room. And he's like, "What? Why would you even say it? Like, what does that? That means nothing." So at the end, the kind of the final go home scene is Abed and Robin are on a date, but it's more of like he's watching a movie and she's watching him watch Kick Puncher.
Yes.
And then he
yes.
speaks into the lamp because there's a bug in the lamp. He's like, "Next time you're in town, maybe you can observe me having lunch. Honk once for no and twice for yes." And then she honks, and then she honks again. He's like, "Okay, awesome."
Yeah. So for some reason, I thought I remember the ending of the episode being like she just honked once to say no, and I was like, "Oh, why? That's kind of a sad ending." But then no, she honks twice to say yes,
because you never actually see it happen. Because
well, no, maybe I heard him wrong. I thought he said like yes once for yes and twice for no, and she honked twice. I don't know.
Oh.
For some reason, I thought that she said no.
Well, screw you, Robin.
And I was just like, that's kind of a weird ending. Like she was interested in him, and now she doesn't want to come back. But yeah.
I also liked. I don't know. I think Pierce's his whole vindication for Vicky. There's a scene where all of the candidates are standing on the platform, and Pierce leans over and he's looking down at Vicky kind of down the line. He's like, Vicky, look at me, Vicky. And she just snaps over and just scowling at him. He's like, I'm going to crush you, Vicky. I'm going to slurp your brains out of that melon that you call a skull. And then the dean is like, "Hey, just a reminder to our candidates that your microphones are on."
Just a reminder that your microphones are
well, they should be. I'm on fire up here. And then he just kind of goes back at it. He's like, "You're weird. You look weird. You know that? Must be because of your overbite." He leans into the microphone a little bit. And then at the end, he has a really poignant speech, because it's right after Jeff and Annie kind of go through the whole okay, Jeff is sorry for being cynical. Annie's sorry for embarrassing him in front of the school. And Pierce kind of shuffles into frame and is like, "In our quest to hurt others, we end up hurting ourselves, because it is the self that longs to be hurt." And then he turns to them and it's like, Vicky finally lent me her pencil, but it's sticking into his cheek. I don't know. It's just it's good time. I'm glad that Chevy Chase got to kind of have a bit of a cool line for once. But and then also Jeff's whole he's being kind of ridiculous with the whole platform of I don't really care if I get elected or not. I just like manipulating the crowd. And so he's asked a question. He's like, "You know what, Dean? I don't want to say what I'll do. The Greendale people want me to do what I'll say." And then he leans over to Annie's like, "They love it when you switch the words around." And it just seems like whenever you go to any modern evangelical church, that's very much what what a pastor would say. "You don't need to be watching or listening to the You're Already Accepted community rewatch, because we are already accepted in the realm of Christ." And so it's a very I resonate with it pretty well. So I thought that was pretty funny. Ethan, go ahead.
What do I want to do for Maria from Guatemala, who
works in Nicaragua, who works in the cafeteria?
And there's nobody there. He's making it up. But yeah, I do like Jeff kind of the way he makes fun of politics. It's fun.
It's accurate.
Yeah. It's accurate, and it's kind of funny that he
so popular.
It actually makes him more popular.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For my closing remarks, I was thinking about smashing a watermelon. They seem to love that.
Yeah.
And again, it's a very pastor having a skit. Visual
video, yeah.
It's over the top, but he's got a point with how ridiculous politics can get. Yeah. So, there's you guys have mentioned a lot of good parts from this episode. There's a few. This episode is one of my favorites that I kind of forget about until it comes back up, and I forget how much I love it. I do like the opening scene with the classic wingers. Notch, Abed makes a notch, and then Annie says something about Jeff's abs, and he makes a notch for ab mentions. And then somebody says something else, and Troy like laughs, and then he just makes a notch.
It's just notches.
Yeah, that's a pretty clever joke.
See, I've seen this episode several times, and I'd never noticed that. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention whenever I was watching the episode, but I was like, that is actually like clever. Like it's funny.
It's very clever. Yeah. I always love, I think I quote this a lot. Like, I love the line that Jeff gives at when he goes up and is like introducing himself as wanting to run for presidency. He's like, just a fella. I think beer should be cold and boots should be dusty. I think 9/11 was bad. Freedom? Well, I think it's just a little bit better.
And then later on, he's like, what's your favorite color? Because mine's a 3-way tie between red, white, and blue.
Kind of, it's like Bobby Newport vibes, kind of. Yeah.
I'm against crime.
I'm not afraid to say it. Yeah. Or what's the guy from Parks and Rec, the country singer?
It's
Bo Burnham, but the country singer.
Jesse, it's like
bring home the troops.
Yeah. God bless America. Thank you, moms.
Yeah. An underrated Troy line is whenever he and Abed are doing like the newscast on the closed circuit television, and they're going through the candidates, and they show Garrett's, and Troy's like, Garrett, that kid's a mess. It's like God spilled a person. Yeah. It's like listing all of Garrett's allergies, and it's like everything basically, Yeah, and then Pierce running like just to get back at Vicky is so petty. That's such a Pierce thing to do, and it made me think of the 2016 election with a certain candidate who won the election and was just like making fun of, and that was
the entire episode is literally just like the 2016.
Yeah, honestly, like they kind of predicted.
There's so many candidates on the stage, right? And some of them have different degrees of.
Simpsons predicted the future. Nah, Community
did. Yeah, for sure.
And Joe Biden saying at the end, "Oh, I think I dreamed I was a real president."
Yeah. Maybe we were all living in Joe's dream.
Maybe. For the diorama question. So for this week, the question that Jonathan, did you come up with this one?
Yeah, I said, what would be the goal of your reign as Greendale student body president? Mine would be to finally uncover the identity of the ass crack bandit.
Speaking of, I also love Alison Brie's delivery of that line. She's like, the assailant, known only as the ass crack bandit, will be brought to justice. And she does like the stamping her fist on her hand sort of thing.
Yeah, so that was I couldn't think of a better one. I mean, obviously that's pressing. But honestly, like if I was the president, I would just like use all the school's like resources and like convince the dean to go all out, and we probably wouldn't catch the guy, but or woman.
So if that was actually like in an episode, policy. If you were, if that happened in an episode, I could see it kind of being like a George Bush with Al Qaeda, type of thing.
I go Amanda Waller.
Oh yeah,
like, all in.
Send in the freaks.
The war on terrorism. Yeah.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, so I think it's a Texas.
And it's a big, everybody has to wear like a gown or a smock, so that way they can't like have their ass cracked.
Yeah.
And it's like, but unfortunately we got all of our smocks from the hospital, which is all only front.
Yeah. So, da, 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 da.
That's a good episode. Yeah. I can't wait to do that one. For mine, I said more chicken tenders. I just feel like
good answer. Yeah.
Like that was such an issue with the Godfather episode. Mm-hmm. And then, they never really seemed to have like figured it out, I guess. So, I mean, everybody loves chicken tenders. Why can't you get more chicken tenders for the cafeteria? Like that would make you so popular too, because everybody loves chicken tenders.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna cheat a little bit in the timeline where I'm a part of the Greendale community. I'm gonna place this episode actually after the second paintball, and I would say my entire platform is based on like the brave Greendale students who fell at the hands of City College, and so it'd be very much like, because Jeff leans into the patriotism, but I'd be like patriotism for the school of like, I'm going to enact policy, a veterans discount for those who fought in the paintball wars, and have a monument with like the team of the unknown Leonard or something like that. Or no, it'd be the team of the unknown student, but Leonard is the one who's walking back and forth. Just like, I can't remember which way I parked my car. So he's just like walking back and forth. And I feel like that would be very popular with the students, because it's like, because later on in one of the next episodes that we're going to talk about, like Abed references paintball. So like, I think it'd be funny to like kind of have that be a part of this episode as well too. That's what I'd have.
Also, I don't want to jump ahead of the extra credit, but while we're on the topic of the end of season 2 paintball episode, there is a Easter egg to that in this episode. At the bottom of the screen when Abed and Troy are doing their newscast, there are 2 different little headlines. One says, Dean plans end of year picnic theme is to be Western theme, which is a reference. Yeah. And then also, I think there's another one that's something about like shortage of paintballs. They make reference to the paintballs, so just a little fun.
Dan, you dirty dog.
It's almost like he had it planned out. Weird.
And not like the Star Wars lore of like, oh, George Lucas knew in 1980 that he was going to have the Clone Wars.
For leading the class, I had Abed. Just really like the unspoken romance between him and Volers. Like kind of like you said, like Christian, like that's just stuff that's just easy to root for. Eats you up.
Yeah,
it's fun
and it's fun. It doesn't feel forced.
Yeah.
Like with it, when Brie Larson comes in, you're like, really?
Yeah.
Her?
Yeah. Yeah. I Volers, she looked familiar to me too, with the actress. I don't know who she is.
Yeah.
But I was trying to pin like she looks like an actress that I've seen that like it would have been funny if they would have had a more famous actress be the Secret Service agent.
Ferris, or like
or like I mean Brie Larson, I guess maybe,
Emma
but
Roberts.
Emma Roberts.
It's Emma Roberts
and Emma Stone.
Okay.
You're thinking of Emma Stone.
Emma Stone.
We've been over this before on this episode.
I was thinking, that one time I was thinking about Emma Roberts. Right now you're thinking of Emma Stone.
Jonathan, you've had this conversation 5 times today.
Are you okay? Have you had plenty of water today?
For leading the class, I had Jeff. I wanted to go with Abed, but I didn't want to steal your answer. So I went with Jeff. Like I said earlier, the fact that he is able to show how stupid politics can be without like I think Dan Harmon is trying to not be preachy, but like is trying to kind of like poke fun of politics for this, you know?
Yeah.
But also like show that it can work at the same time. He's pretty neutral on it, but it is funny how Jeff goes far enough to show politics are dumb, that he's making fun of it, but that actually makes him more appealing. It kind of feels like a Parks and Rec thing.
Yeah.
Like it'd be from Parks and Rec.
And that's so frustrating. I think we've talked about this before, but I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast. Like, Pawnee doesn't deserve Leslie Knope in Parks and Rec.
No
like
way.
she loves the people of Pawnee so much, and she like is very optimistic. She's like Amy.
Yeah.
But then every time you have like a town hall meeting, or like whenever she gets recalled, like the people of Pawnee are awful. And that's the point of it, is like politics, government is messy and it's frustrating, but I agree.
It kind of makes it hard to watch sometimes.
It does.
Parks and Rec.
It
And that's
does.
why I like Parks and Rec, but it's not one that I want to go back and rewatch, like The Office or Community or 30 Rock. Like it just is frustrating, after a while. And so, but that's a topic for a different day, I guess. Maybe. What'd you get?
Because like she kind of like, because I turned into a Parks and Rec podcast, because she has to like grind and like fight through and
and she just gets taken off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I wish that this isn't going to become a Parks and Rec podcast unless we actually do that. But I wish that Bobby Newport would have like pulled some strings, like, you know what? No, Leslie Knope is going to stay in place. And so like she feels guilty because like, oh, well, this is corruption because what is this? Sweetums? Like they're helping me out. So like, oh, I'm actually going to refuse that because I believe in like the sanctity of elections. So I don't know. I feel like that would be pretty good. Yep. For my lead in the class, I'm going to say Pierce, just because ruthless. I know that he's the villain and I don't ever condone bullying. But Vicky is not a real person. She is a medium for Pierce to bully. And I don't know. My platform is going to be one high enough to push Vicky off to her death. And I don't know. I think he does a good job of being ruthless, and he seems like he'd be somebody who actually would run for office. I think he's an old white man, but So that's what I'm going to say for leading the class. For my extra credit, I liked that the very first quote is Pierce, because he's coming back from rehab after his drug addiction. And it was like, so we go to the bathroom and we pull them out. And I say, I go with Tom and I say, size more, try size less. And it's just kind of an unfortunate reality that Tom Sizemore has been in rehab for some time, and so is Chevy Chase. I also just like that this is kind of another running joke of like the group never actually studies for Spanish or this season anthropology, and so it's like, all right, Chapter here we go. 4. And the dean walks in like, oh, thank God, yes.
Oh, thanks.
What is it, Dean?
And I don't know. Jonathan and I talked about this. The dean's applausometer, and it's the very looks like you're in. And we've talked on the podcast before about how like each character, like their actor or actress does a good job of like playing what that actor or actress is known for. And like Jim Rash's voice is very much the looks like you're in. Yeah. So I really like that.
So good.
And also this isn't
looks like this thing is has a minimum.
There's a floor. But Agent Volers, this isn't really a trivia piece, but she looks like she would always have chapped lips. Like her hair, like, and this isn't against her or her actress. She seems like somebody who's just socially awkward enough to not think about that. And I'm sure like Abed, if they were to have a relationship, he'd be like, I noticed whenever we met that you have chapped lips and you haven't washed your hair for 3 days, but that doesn't bother me.
So I don't know if this is supposed to be what you're supposed to think, but I kind of got the vibe that maybe she's also like similar to Abed in that she kind of was like a little off, you know? I don't know if that's...
Well, yeah, that's because she's a Secret Service agent and she observes, and she had she had the whole duck duck goose thing.
Yeah.
She like makes remarks of like, oh, you smell like nice soap.
So is that supposed to be kind of the... I mean, she's also kind of like Abed in terms of...
neurodivergent.
Yeah.
Or just the fact that like she's a Secret Service agent and they're never given a personality in movies.
That
like,
too, but
in Olympus Has Fallen, like the Secret Service agent this year to get shot. So like, I mean, they don't have a personality. So yeah, I think that's a show that they're compatible because they both think about those things.
I ship it.
So Ethan, do you have any extra credit?
Well, I noticed that the cafeteria has a pool table, which I don't know if they've ever shown before.
Oh.
Because they show it in this episode with Jeff playing pool at the beginning whenever Annie is talking about running and he's playing pool with some random girl. He's wearing a leather jacket too, like he was in the pool episode.
Yeah.
And then in the next episode...
I choose shorts.
Yes. And then in the next episode, Chang puts aluminum siding on the pool table and somebody rips their like skirt on
I'm
it.
going to consider that point.
But, like, I don't think we've seen that before, so I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I do like the candidate profile, like that they show for each person. Like Annie's boobs, yes, or like Leonard's. It says his last name is Rodriguez, which they make a joke about
to appeal this Hispanic population.
Yeah, I couldn't. Was that what he? Okay, I couldn't tell what Abed was saying there because he talks really fast. But
I mean, so do we. It's
true. But and then Leonard's party is the Whig Party, and his quotes like "I remember all wars." So
yeah,
making fun of Leonard being old. And then another, I mentioned the bottom ticker, like with the paintball reference. There's also a reference to Professor Slater. Says she's still missing, so we got our first Slater shout out for a while.
I'm not saying she deserves it, but
so they haven't forgotten about Professor Slater, or maybe they have, and somebody who made the ticker remembered.
The Ass Crack Bandit got to her.
Maybe she is the Ass Crack Bandit.
There's a hot take.
Jonathan, do you have any extra credit?
Nothing I could find for this one, or nothing I could think of. But for my like marked and read and kind of conclusion, I just kind of wish that Jeff kind of had a personal motivation to enter the race. In terms of like, oh, if you get into the race, then you you win like a certain I don't know, prize, or
like the president gets a free parking spot or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah,
perfect.
Which they've done that a lot in first season. Honestly, they priority registration,
nice box.
Yeah,
or like you can have some sort of control or something. But overall, like I think initially I gave this episode a 6 out of 10 because I think I had really high expectations for it. Because like once the episode started and I realized, oh, it's the like election one, student election. I'm like, oh yeah, super fun. And again, there is good stuff here. And like, as we've talked about it, we, it's definitely brought up my ratings. I'll probably give it a 7.5 out of 10 right now. Seeing Magnitude.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't think we've mentioned Magnitude yet.
Yeah.
Pop.
He's apparently 16 years old. In the
Oh, really?
on his card, it
I
says
didn't even
he's
realize
16.
that.
Because they also kind of lean into the whole like two polar opposites, one just born, one soon to die.
Yeah.
Commentary on the meaninglessness of not life, or like the ridiculousness of politics.
You guys are missing the debate of the century.
Yeah.
Pop. Which is sort of stupid, like immature joke, but it's just funny enough because the fact that Leonard and Magnitude are the two like that are left, I guess, is funny. I think this episode is enjoyable. I think I mentioned it earlier. Like it's one of my favorites whenever it comes up, but I don't think about it when I think of best community episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's underrated though, just because like there's so many good lines and so many like good digs at like a lot of the characters. Like Britta gets made fun of.
Mm-hmm.
Pierce like gets his comeuppance by getting like a pencil jabbed in his cheek, but like he's so savage. To Vicky, we mentioned the Jeff and Annie kind of rivalry is kind of fun because we don't usually see them bicker a lot. Usually it's them flirting. So it is nice to see them kind of have different sides. And then the Abed subplot is fun. I would kind of wish there was more contributions from Britta and Shirley just because like they kind of get left out.
Mm-hmm.
But
Shirley does a lot in this season though, let's be honest.
She does. But like if you're going to have 5 of the characters be involved in an election episode, and Britta has like a scene where she goes up and is the government sucks or whatever, but you could have at least gotten more involved from like Britta and Shirley, where maybe Shirley is like, I don't know, they're like trying to get it to run for like the black vote or something, or I don't know, whatever. But
Britta is just running on an anarchy platform and she actually wins. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, I didn't want this, so I denounced my claim.
or just get it more involved, or even just like have Shirley have like one more line with like Abed's plot too,
Yeah.
because she always kind of seems like she's the one that notices that Abed has the side plots, like in the season 1. I think it's season 1 where he delivers the baby,
Mm-hmm.
or there's another one where he's like kind of basically gone for the episode, and she's like, "Oh, I haven't seen you all week, Abed." Or he's because like I'm going to dial it down after last week. So I think just a little more contributions from Britta and Shirley, just to kind of bring the whole group into it would have been nice. But overall, I enjoyed the episode. I gave it a 9 out of 10. It's probably one of my favorites.
Especially like with the Shirley thing too. Like Shirley is, I can't remember. Is it her or Annie that ends up as the valedictorian? But like,
I don't think either of them do. Doesn't Leonard or somebody like they don't? Neither of them do.
Well, like thinking of Shirley, like she's a good student. Like she tries really hard in school, so it's like it makes sense that she would want to get involved, and like kind of add that to her resume and stuff like that.
Or even if they just had a line where they were asking her if she wanted to run, like for that reason, and she's just like, "No, I'm pregnant. Like I don't have,
Maybe, yeah,
just a throwaway line like that, just to explain.
What
why
are you
she's not
doing, Dan? Come on, man.
It sure sucks,
Jonathan and I were saying that earlier. Like we this is a podcast about us loving Community, but I can't think of how many times we said, "Man, this episode blows."
Yeah.
I was in a bad mood when I watched it. I thought I kind of agree. This is one of those episodes where I'm never like, oh boy, it's the I want to watch the campaign episode, but it's good in terms of like the jokes, the setups for the jokes, the plot lines of like, oh yeah, Joe Biden coming to Greendale Community College, like. Sure, I'll go with that. All the plot lines with Pierce and Annie and Abed and I mean even Troy doesn't really have much of a plot line. He's just kind of commentating on the campaign. But I'm going to give it a Secret Service out of TSA in terms of it's pretty good. I'd prefer to be part of like ATF or something like that, but Secret Service out of TSA I think is pretty good for government agencies. So now going into our next episode, custody law and Eastern European politics. Let me
Diplomacy.
What did I say?
Politics.
Oh, well, we just politics on the brain. So the main plot line is we're going back into the Shirley pregnancy, and I'll be honest, guys, that's probably the worst part of season 2 is the Shirley pregnancy plot line, but. We started with a baby shower, and this is kind of playing into the whole. Okay, well, is Andre the father? Is Cheng the father? Basically, Shirley and Andre say that no matter what, they're going to be the ones who raise the child. And Cheng is like, well, you know what? I kind of want to be the father figure. And so, Shirley and Andre want Jeff to push Cheng out of the picture. They'd say that Cheng looks up to you. He's living with you. So like do something to make him forfeit his parents' right. I think it's just a sign of paper, isn't it? Obviously Jeff is being selfish because that's what Jeff does. So what he's really trying to do is just get Cheng out of his apartment. So he says something along the lines of like, if you get your crap together and you actually do stuff, then maybe you could actually be a good father figure, not even necessarily for this baby. Because Cheng says that he doesn't get to Cheng a lot of chicks, so this is probably his last chance. But that kind of leads into Cheng, quote unquote, picking up Shirley's kids from school, and we find out they're not Shirley's kids. And so then Jeff freaks out because like, what are you doing? You're an idiot. And so Cheng calls the cops on Jeff for being mad at him. And we get to the final kind of conclusion of the episode is that Shirley and Andre have to deal with the fact that Cheng might be the baby's father and that putting him away in prison is not going to change anything, and that they just kind of have to learn how to balance the good with the bad. But while that's also going on, Troy and Abed are friends with Luca, who is from the Balkans. And the guy who plays him, did you look up what his name was, Ethan? Okay.
No.
I just know that he's in a lot of like CBS, like he was a mafia guy and person of interest.
I can't even pronounce it. I looked it up and it's
he's just in stuff and things,
Enver Gyokash.
Okay, cool.
We'll go with that.
Britta wants to date Luca because she thinks that he's cute. But the problem is every time Britta dates a guy that Troy and Abed like, she starts telling them things about
Kyle,
Jeff. Oh,
yeah.
Nipple play Pierce?
Yeah.
Oh, no, obviously, as you can see, we're still hanging out with Jeff. How's it going, Jeff? Best line of the whole episode. So that's my A+ already blown. But because you find out that Luca was a soldier in some of the Balkan crises, and like he committed genocide, which is in an episode of Community, like it's actually kind of
it's pretty dark.
It's pretty dark, right? Like it's played for laughs, but you think we're like, oh, I mean, yeah, it's kind of crazy. So Britta tries to set up Luca, as in she tries to make it look like Luca stole the Kick Puncher 3 DVD, but Abed catches her on video stealing it. So the whole conclusion is that, we won't stop you from dating guys that we like as long as you promise not to tell us things about them unless they've committed genocide. Then you can tell us, or if they're left-handed, right? So if I dated Britta, she could tell Abed that I was left-handed. I think for A+, that plot line is better, right? I think that they could have made the whole episode that. I don't think really that Pierce or Annie or I guess Shirley is, but Pearson and Aiden don't really have a whole lot, which is fine. You know, not everybody has to be in every single episode. But I love Abed's delivery of like honestly everything, because at the first scene they're at the baby shower. And Jeff is like, man, why is everybody so obsessed with race here? And Britta's like, white people problems. And she Abed daps her up. And I'm like, it's so funny because he's kind of like nice and he's like does that. But then even whenever Luca, Troy, and Abed are playing the video game, and he's like, bang, bang, go to your dog mother in hell. Britta comes in, is trying to like convince Troy and Abed that Luca is a war criminal. And then Abed's like, well, you know, Luca, you can't borrow my Kick Puncher 3 DVD, but we can watch it together. And then Britta's like, yes, maybe we do. Maybe we do. And Abed's just staring at us like, would you please leave?
Yeah.
And even at the end, whenever they call out Britta for stealing the video, she's like, we have video evidence of you taking the DVD. So
you have a security camera in your room. I'm making a very intense documentary.
Mostly it's me all watching episodes of something. I don't know what he says. It's one of those Abed TV shows. So, so already Abed is my lead in the class. I've blown my A+ in my lead in the class pretty early. But what do you guys think about A+ scenes, all that great stuff?
I had Jeff saying our school motto is lower your standards.
Yeah,
but it's not though. It is E pluribus anus.
That's a pretty good line though. That's probably my favorite line from the episode.
And then Troy goes to Britta. There's a difference between telling us a guy likes nipple play and telling us a guy makes hats out of baby.
Again, such a dark line.
Like, whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Damn. Calm down, buddy.
Yeah.
But even with, okay, so like you said that Jeff has that line that our school motto is lowering your standards. That whole scene though is really weird. Like, because the context of that scene is that Shirley and Andre are like bailing Jeff out of jail, and like they're talking about everything, and like everything that happens in that scene like it's not sequential with each other, because because Shirley wants to put Chang in prison, and Andre is like, no, because you've always wanted what's best for our family. Look what happened the last time. And Shirley was like, so are you saying that you cheated because I wanted what was best for our family? And he's like, no, I cheated because I was a coward, but you still took me back because you can see the bad with the good. And then Jeff says, well, yeah, our school motto is lower your standards. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, nothing of what any of you just said is relating to what the other person said.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of disjointed.
I think the writers wanted to have some zingers, and they're like, all right, we're going to put them right here. And I get what they're trying to say, but if you think about it, like, Andre's like, no, I cheated because I was a coward, but I'm like, so why did you even bring that up?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, he's saying, oh, you took me back because you saw they go with the bad. And Jeff is like, well, it's what you get for lowering your standards. Like, that's not what Andre's saying though. Like,
yeah,
yeah, that's my marked in red. So
Yeah.
I've already blown through all my stuff for the episode. So I'll shut up for the rest of it.
What'd you guys think of like the Chang like running around the police like the police
I'm
station?
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Officer Babyhead.
Officer Baby.
Time out. I'm sorry. It's Chang.
It's fine. I'll blow my marked in red now. This episode blows. It's not that funny. And I just think the plots are so weak. But Chang, for as much as I don't love Chang after he gets fired as Spanish teacher Chang, like season 1 Chang's fine. After that, I don't love him. But I don't like the Shirley plot with the pregnancy. But I do think in this episode he does kind of pull the weight of the episode a little bit. He's annoying. I mean, you're not supposed to like him because he's not a great person. But in terms of like the acting and like just the weight of the character in the episode, like he does kind of lead the way in terms of every scene really just seems like he's in it. You know, he like when he comes in with the pipe and or he puts the siding on the side of the pool table or sawing Jeff's table.
Yeah. Where do you keep getting?
Don't saw the floor. Do not saw the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's fine. I didn't really have any A+ for this episode, but I mean, there's like a couple of good lines. I do agree that the Britta and Luca plot could have been probably like the main part of the episode. They could have done more with it. I didn't love the plot, but it had promise. But for the diorama question, so the question we came up for this episode was, what would your gift have been for Shirley's baby shower? And looking at it as if you were one of the Greendale 7. So don't just say, oh, I'd give this baby a 529 savings plan for his education. That's lame.
What was the one? The Gerber Baby Life Plan was like just 5 cents a day.
Yeah.
By the time that baby's 60, like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be like,
Be $1 billion.
Baby gonna be rich.
A quarter every single day of the year will get you over $1,000.
Yeah.
No, it won't.
So what I have decided, I think if I was in community and we were at the baby shower, I think I probably would give Shirley a gift, not necessarily for the baby, but I'd be like, hey, this is for you as the mom, and like you're going to be having a baby. And it'd probably be like, here's a scrapbook of all of the things that we've done. So like while you're home with the
that's
baby,
good.
and you're missing us, you can remember the things we've done, you know?
Yeah. I feel like what you could have even like made a joke, like, because I feel like most of the jokes, there's a joke that goes along with them, or most of the gifts, there's a joke. You could have been like, oh yeah, I got this for you, Shirley. And then everybody's like, but Ethan, like, that's not the point of a baby shower. The point is not for the mom, it's for the baby.
What the heck, Ethan? Yeah.
Or like the photos in the scrapbook, like Shirley's in them, but she's sort of like in the background, or she's covered up. So like she's not really in the photos. I like that.
Yeah.
Do you know, Jonathan, what you'd give?
I'd give Andre another sweater. Like,
My dad gave it to me. Thanks.
Or just like a thing of Jell-O.
Yeah. Yeah, something like
that. I would want to think. Oh, sorry.
Good old pre 2017 Cosby.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Dude, what are you?
Well, now I feel bad even. No, I'm just kidding. Mine was actually going to be a gift series of the Bill Cosby Show. No, I'm just kidding. I would like to think that so I may have mentioned it once or twice on this podcast, but I was a history major in college. I feel like, especially as like a precursor to Luca's kind of character arc, I would have given like a sort of like those like cardboard flip books, but it's like baby's first genocide or baby's first war. So like it shows like very specific examples, like Old Testament stuff, because like I know that Shirley loves Christianity, like, but then Moses had all of the idolaters beheaded, and then David was told to go collect 100 foreskins for salt. Like it would have been something like, it's like, you know, it's still
a very like graphic,
very graphic. Exactly. Yeah, I do something like
That's
that,
hilarious.
and be like, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate your care for the gospel. Right. So something kind of like that I would have done for the gifts. But for leading the class, I already said it was Abed. Just because of his line delivery. I think that these series of episodes that we're in right now, it's peak Abed, peak Danny PD. My hat is off to you, Abed Nadir.
I went with Luca. First off, sick name.
Yeah.
And then also, he seems like a pretty cool dude, honestly, minus like the genocide.
He wears a leather
But honestly,
jacket, right? Like,
allegedly. We weren't there.
I can excuse genocide, but I draw the line. You can excuse genocide?
Yeah.
Spencer, I have woman in here, man.
Yeah.
Knows how to really kill the vibe.
I went with Andre. I feel like he's kind of been just a minor. I mean, he is a minor character. He's not a main character, but he hasn't really had much screen time yet. Besides more of just like a joke of like, yeah, he cheated on Shirley and whatever. But he's kind of honestly like an OG. Like he's.
Well, I'm going to consider that point missed.
Yeah, I mean, he's really of like that scene with Chang and Shirley and Jeff at the police station. Like Andre is really the only one that's speaking sense.
And I just want to say, I think I brought this up before on the podcast, but then in season 4 or 5, Andre leaves Shirley again because Shirley is like being selfish. Do you remember what I'm talking about? He leaves her again, and we don't hear anything. Like, what's the point of him doing all of this good acting in this part of the show? And it's almost like he's like overcompensating for cheating on her, and then like there's no payoff, right?
I mean, it's probably just that Malcolm Jamal Warner didn't come back to play Andre, so they just had to write him off.
That's fair.
I mean,
that's fair.
Like,
But
why
still,
isn't Shirley's husband being shown on the show
Quick
anymore?
question with Andre too. Okay, he said I've been a father for 11 years
And a good one for
9. Does that add up like on the timeline at all?
I mean, maybe. I feel like we're in season 2, so if he cheated on her right before she came to college,
You're right. Okay,
and then 2 years later they're back together.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I forgot we're because the kids are already like 10 or 8 or.
I
10
can see the oldest one being 11. You know, yeah.
So we can cut it. Go for it.
No, we're fine. I was thinking about our mom's name was LaQuanda. Hey, that's racist.
Yeah.
Wait, is your mom actually named? Yeah, you should have known that, dumbass.
Yeah.
That's why, like that scene in like Chang in the police station, he's annoying, but he kind of does a good job.
Hello,
like,
police.
with
How
the
much do
kids.
you pay for anonymous tips? Yeah. Okay, this one's on me.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Or I'm nuts, Jeff. Get with the program. Very much so.
I mean, have we kind of covered the marked in red? I don't know, Jonathan, have you complained that much about the episode yet?
I'd say just like screw Britta for like.
No, that's not what she said. That's not what she wrote down. F Britta for being Luca.
But really though, like just I believe in friendship, you know, and I believe in like if your friends ask you to do something, like just straight up, like just,
but I really like him.
like straight, like again, like I'm sorry, but like nobody likes the phrase, you know, there's a lot of fish in the sea, but like
my most recent Instagram.
I was say shout out to you. Hilarious caption, honestly.
Thank you.
Even Sam thought so.
Yeah.
But who's Sam?
Oh,
sorry.
just a person.
Redacted person.
My hypothetical.
Yeah. If I was going to be, her name would be Sam. Yes.
Thank you. But excuse me. But yeah, screw Britta for like trying to get with Luca. It's just it's super frustrating.
And I think what the show is trying to get you to feel, because Troy and Abed go apologize to her later, of like, oh well, but they shouldn't have been so harsh on her for ruining guys. Like, but nobody likes that either. Like, if you have a friend and then somebody like kind of makes that person theirs, then you're like, what the heck? Like, I hang out with them first, right?
Yeah.
Well, but so their issue wasn't that she was dating them, is that whenever they broke up, she would tell them weird things about them.
But that's what I'm saying. Is like she would make that person hers by telling them those things. So then they didn't feel like they could be friends with them.
So why couldn't Britta and them just come to a compromise that Britta, you can date guys we're friends with, just don't tell us anything about them?
That's what this episode is for, though.
That's not what happens, though. The point is that they make a big deal about her dating anybody at all.
No, they make a big deal about her telling things about them.
Right. Yeah. Why don't they just tell her, if you don't tell us anything, you can still date our friends? Because they just tell her, don't date him. They say, hands off, Luca, you can't date him.
Because they know that she does that every single time. And so, like, I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah,
I guess, on the one hand, I get it. But
on the other hand, Dan, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, come on. Who are they to tell Britta that if she's attracted to somebody that she can't date him? Like, she likes him.
Yeah.
So
maybe they're just so exasperated, like, oh, another time. Or Britta.
And it's supposed to be played for laughs, like, oh, Britta, you're the worst. You ruined a guy for us that we're friends with. But I don't know. Do you have a rating for this episode, Jonathan?
I'd probably say, gun to my head, right now I like 6.5 out of 10. I did laugh, like I would say that. Other thing I would say, like, I just wish when Cheng decided to be an adult. Actually, speaking of the whole like Cheng being an adult storyline,
I do like his cardigan. I'll give him that. His yellow cardigan is very nice.
But the thing I don't get is that, like, okay, I'm Jeff. I'm what's her name? Shirley asked me to convince Cheng to grow up and
to forfeit parental rights.
Yes, forfeit parental rights. My pitch to Cheng is, hey man, step your life up, get out of my apartment, and maybe she'd let you be in her life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't see how. Gosh, what should I say?
I think I kind of get what you're saying. Of like, if he would have,
I lost my thoughts.
I think if he was sincere about it, yes. But I think the whole crux of the episode was that he wasn't sincere. Like, he was just trying to get Cheng out of it, and because Jeff is the worst, right?
Well, but Cheng misunderstood what Jeff was saying. I mean, Jeff was being selfish, wanting him out, but he was just saying, if you get your life together, that makes you a more responsible adult, or somebody might let you be a father of their kids. But Cheng takes that as, oh, so you're saying if I get a job, I can be the dad. You know, he kind of takes it like misinterprets what Jeff's saying. Although Jeff is also saying it out of selfishness, so probably he could have been a little more.
And see, this part of this show makes me kind of like shocked that like Jeff actually does put a limb out for Cheng, like by letting him stay in his apartment, and Cheng never like respects, like appreciates that. Like later on, whenever he's the dictator Cheng and he tries to like straight up kill Jeff, like they never mention that, like, oh, you actually let me stay with you for a while. And I think that's supposed to be kind of annulled by Jeff saying, like, you're a terrible person and I don't care what happens to you. You're going to be long gone by the time we get out of here. Like, so maybe that is, I don't remember what you even asked us to begin with about that.
Oh, you're
but,
fine.
But just kind of like, there's a world where maybe Cheng could have actually had a part in the baby's life.
Yeah. Like if Jeff actually does what he's supposed to do, like, I think there's a win-win-win situation that was missed. But I also wish that Cheng like actually got a chance to teach Spanish again, because like that was actually a fun part of the show.
El Tigre.
Yeah, and like I don't know, like you learn a few things if you pay attention, and I don't know, it's fun. But I'd say 6.5 out of 10.
Y bingo was el name, which that. I hate in shows and movies where like that's the joke is like, oh, they can't really sing. They're singing the song in different ways. Like, you should knock a half point off of your rating for just that one.
Fair enough.
I'm just kidding.
Close to a 5 then. So
I give it a 6 out of 10 as well. I just didn't laugh that much this episode, and none of the plots really made me interested. You know, it was just kind of like we had to get this episode across so we can advance the plot with Shirley and Chang is really what it was for. And then they just threw Britta, Troy, and Abed like plot with just to give them something to do, I guess. I don't know. I think in theory, this episode is important if you look at it as like, okay, yeah, Chang needs to get his life together and like we need to find another direction for Chang to go. Like this is a new step for him. Is like, is he going to be a dad? Is he going to get his life together? But I just think the execution was bad on this episode. Really, I think that they could have done a lot better job with the plots. With Luca being that's like a classic sitcom trope where you find out the guy's actually not a good person. Usually it's not this drastic where he was like a genocidal murderer, but
cleansing the motherland.
Yeah,
cleansing the
motherland.
People who stole my village.
Yeah,
I missed him running away from our tanks as we approach.
Yeah, it's a fine episode. It's not a fine episode. It's
a
mid
Monday Night Football.
It's no, you mean Thursday night?
Are you saying it's that bad?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fair enough.
I don't think it's Thursday Night Football bad. I think again, I feel like what happened is that they realized that Shirley didn't really have a whole lot of a character besides like, oh, I'm a Christian and I'm bigoted. So in the season 2, they're like, oh, we're gonna really lean into her being a mom, and so they gave her the pregnancy plot as a way to like make her relevant. I don't think they really succeeded personally in that because even in season 2, most of her character, like most of her episodes are her as being pregnant, right? So I feel like this episode kind of was we were kind of being forced to realize that fact of like, oh, whether we like it or not, Shirley's whole character in the show right now is, oh, I'm pregnant and I want to get my family back together. And oh, there's this weird Asian guy who's trying to get in on it. So personally, I really wish that they would have put Chang away. I feel like that would have made more sense for him to come back as like a dictator of the college. Because as I'm watching the show, I'm like, it can't be that easy, right? Like they can't just put Chang away for prison. Like I wanted that to happen because again, Chang was just kind of the worst. And I feel like the Luca plot, it's a lot of fun. Like the Troy and Abed are playing games with him. And I always love in movies and TV show where they like create a game and people play it.
Yeah.
Granted, I always hate the whole like clicking the buttons on the controller.
Nobody does that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically like, what was it? Like Eastern European GTA, what they're playing.
Pretty much. Luca's going to show us how to break the spirit of entire breaking the village of entire spirit by poisoning or murdering their livestock and poisoning their water.
Yeah, that's a good line by Abed.
So I feel like I don't know. I feel like if this episode was going to be working better for me, I think the fact that Britta is in it, not the fact that she's the worst. I think just it's like frustrating to watch of like, I think what could have been better is if you remove the whole like, oh, we don't want you to date him and you ruin him for us. I think it could have been fine if Troy and Abed meet Luca in like anthropology, whatever, a class, and they hang out with him and they're having fun. They don't know that Britta also has met him and she finds out all the terrible things about him, but they still think like, oh no, Luca's awesome. He showed us how to play video games. That would kind of take away the whole like, oh, well, Britta, you knew this was going to happen whenever you dated him. I feel like that would have made it a more like easier episode to watch where you're not like, oh my gosh, just talk to each other.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Like most, like as much as we love Frasier, most episodes devolve down into like if Frasier would just talk to people and like not try to figure out himself, he would be fine. Like, oh, well, I've got somebody in the bathroom, another woman in the kitchen, another woman in the bedroom. Yeah, he like runs with his hands up, like, like that.
Frasier, where's my beer?
Valentine's.
Yeah.
I think I can keep this one a secret for an extra can. So I'm going to give this episode a Colonial Pen program out of Gerber Baby Life because as a kid, we'd be watching like Saturday morning cartoons and there was always like the Alec Trebek commercial and that would come on. And I was like, Trebek, that's more for old people. And then the Gerber Baby Life plan is like, oh, I want to know that my aunt cares about me enough to pay 5 cents a day. Like, so that would be the peak. So I'm going to give it a Colonial Pen program out of Gerber Baby Life. But any closing thoughts, gentlemen, before we segue out with that bumping theme song? All right. Well, you better turn it up to 11, folks, because this has been an episode of You're Already Accepted, a community rewatch. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you next week.
Peace. Go!